Well, good morning. Some of you who have heard us before might wonder, why do they always have to come up here together? So let me lay that to rest. We do everything together. And I like to think that I bring more heart and he brings more mind to our study of the science of mind. Just as, and we've told some of you that when we were training in science of mind, we had, our first minister was all brain. So we got the intellectual side of science of mind, and it was pretty dry, but pretty powerful. And then our next minister, before we finished practitioner classes, was Reverend Candy. And oh my gosh, her heart was like this, and it was always open. And she told you she loved you all the time. So we think we got the best of both. And Geneva was in our class with us, and I see her back there smiling as she remembers that as well. So it seems to us that the first two chapters, and I know many of you go, January again, really? But this year it was pretty exciting because we mated one of the first four chapters with another chapter in the book. And so we thought that was a wonderful way to do this. The first two chapters can be summed up wonderfully in Ernest Holmes' own words. The thing, then, works for us by working through us and is us always. So for this month, you've heard from Reverend Bonnie on the thing itself, ultimate stuff, and guess what the initials of ultimate stuff is? U.S., us. We are us, we are it. And we heard from Teresa Valenzuela. They presented ideas and thoughts as catalysts for personal growth. And they shared with us examples of how they use science of mind principles to enrich their lives and the lives around them. Our thesis statement this week is, our experiences demonstrate our beliefs about life. So, what you get this morning to present chapters 3 and chapter 16, Principles of Successful Living, is a pair of spiritual pragmatists. We also see this philosophy as having practical tools and instruments for problem solving, personal growth, and actions that create successful results. So I'm going to tell you just a little bit about us and our journey. I know some of you have heard it, so I'll be very brief. And by the way, it's pretty bright in here because I see all these souls shining. Both of us started our lives with really pragmatic parents who instilled in us strong work ethics. And in workshops we've recently done, we've discovered that many people of our generation were brought up that way, to be self-sufficient, the idea of personal responsibility. So on the not-so-good side, it left both of us not only with a strong work ethic, but also with a deep belief that money and life were something you had to struggle with. So we came to religious science with that embedded in our consciousness. And the outpicturing of that for us, Doug in California and me in Tennessee, was that we began with starter spouses. And so I guess some of you guys can relate to that maybe. So we learned a lot with them about life and struggle. And the good thing is it created in us a deep desire to experience something different on our next round of relationship. So that began for both of us a commitment to personal growth and a willingness, while raising our family and working and everything else, the willingness to invest the time and energy necessary to get those results. Doug had discovered Science of Mind in Huntington Beach, California with Reverend Peggy Bassett, who was a powerful speaker. And her congregation just thrived and grew. And when he moved to Las Cruces, he continued receiving her talks on cassettes. That's how long ago that was. So our journey, Doug's and my journey together began when I lost my job unexpectedly as the vice president of a local bank. So I was very angry and frustrated. I didn't know what had happened. Then Doug had been saying, well, you know, do you maybe want to go to church every now and then to religious science? I said, no, I don't think so. But when I lost that job, I said, okay, you have all these tapes you're so proud of. I'm going to go pick one out and I'm going to see if it resonates with me. So guess what? And this is true. I went over there and I grabbed a tape and the topic was the opportunity in losing a job. So, being the practical person that I am, I said, maybe there is something to this. So that began our journey. We started taking the classwork. We couldn't take enough of it. It was just wonderful to discover about ourselves. It was also painful to discover about ourselves. But Geneva was there to love us, and Donna was there to love us, and the ministers, and Doug, and we got to know ourselves. Powerful stuff, guys. Then we just couldn't get enough of the classes. And there's a lot more classes now, so we encourage you guys to always keep looking and taking more classes. So we continued into practitioner studies and graduated that program in '91. We love it. And our struggle with money was dealt with with a very reluctant step into tithing. I didn't see how that could possibly work. And the results of that and the continued practice of that allowed us to realize that our struggle with money was an illusion and that it's merely a reflection of us not recognizing who we are and not trusting Spirit. And that's really tough to get beyond. From the Science of Mind, page 273, the universe exists for the expression of Spirit, and man exists for self-expression because he is an expression of Spirit. So our belief that life is something you have to struggle with led us truly to the realization that our experiences were a reflection of that belief and that we could change it. Holmes also tells us we live in a perfect universe, but it needs to be mentally seen and spiritually experienced before it can be a part of our daily lives. And further, he goes on, that trained thought is far more powerful than untrained thought. For example, I always go to simple things that are easy to understand. So here's untrained thought. In the fall and at this time of year, if you're watching television, you see there's lots of commercials for cold medicine and flu medicine because, oh my gosh, it's cold and flu season. So if you're not careful, that's what you're gonna get in angst and worry about that. So it's just a simple little example of how we can always pay attention to what we're letting get into our consciousness and be a choice whether we want it to get in there. After 35 years as business owners and spouses, through the ups and downs of daily living and its emotional baggage, let me tell you, we are still married and in business. And we still love each other. So we are delighted to share that if we had not discovered Science of Mind, we wouldn't be standing up here together in front of you this morning. So enough about us. Let's get on with what it does and the principles of successful living. Ernest says, this philosophy is the essence of simplicity. Do many of you see that that's true? Sometimes, right? So we're going to tell you what you already know. And we all know negative people and know how happy they are with the reality that surrounds them. In the words of Ernest Holmes, no person whose entire time is spent in contemplation of limitations can demonstrate freedom from limitations. And he goes on to say, we attract to ourselves that which is like our thought. So now it's my pleasure to introduce my soulmate and the head to my heart, Doug Bailey.
It's such a pleasure to follow an excellent speaker like that. I am the, what did you call the cool one, as opposed to the exciting one. Returning to the thesis statement, our experiences demonstrate our beliefs about life. Isn't it wonderful that life provides an ongoing feedback of what we are thinking with respect to the nature of our own reality and our experiences? Simply put, our conscious mind expresses through our beliefs and creates our experiences. Think of an acorn. It has within it the divine pattern of an oak tree. That seed expresses through law as an oak tree. It cannot express as an apple tree or a cornstalk. So what does that mean to us? Conscious mind expressing through our beliefs becomes our experiences or our oak trees, which is where we are today. Peggy Bassett said once, "Never make your past bad. It's part of who you are. In fact, it's a building block of your present and your future. Therefore, a part of your strength." You have had the pleasure this month of 3 excellent speakers that just are spontaneous, that share from their heart. When I was 12 or 13, I was giving a book report in school, and about halfway through it, the most attractive and popular girl in school said, "Hey, Doug, your fly's down." Which kind of interrupted my train of thought and made me very enthusiastic about giving the rest of the report. It also struck me as not particularly enjoying public speaking from that point on, because you always felt like you were standing before people with your fly down. As a businessman who had to deal with employees and suppliers and customers, I recognized that fear of speaking before public was not probably a good situation for myself. So I got into Toastmasters, and I have the distinction of being one of the only people in Toastmasters that ever got their ATM, which is you gave 12 speeches, without ever having a impromptu speech. In other words, I always gave my talks from text, and I read them. We have been in Las Cruces for about 30 years in the Science of Mind church, and I think we have probably given 30 talks over the years, maybe an average of 1 a year. I have never, ever given a talk without a text to back me up. And yeah, I know that most of you recognize that as practitioners, we're up here one Sunday or every so often and have to speak, pretty much impromptu-wise. But the one thing that people don't recognize is what we're doing is we are giving a treatment, and then we are reading. And I know how to read real well. The one thing that people don't recognize is we've been doing Prayer Circle, Geneva, Tina, and I, for about 30 years every week, which makes treatments pretty routine for us and pretty easy. And basically what we're doing is we're just channeling. So how do you give up something that is fearful for you? How do you release a belief that that allows you to step into a different reality. And part of what you do, if you are scared of speaking without notes, is you have notes, but do it impromptu-wise in front of an audience that is supportive and loving. So this is how you step into a different reality, is actually take the step into a different situation. Religious science provides us with wonderful tools for changing our life. One is visioning. I think we have had both Bonnie and Teresa this month talk about the power of visioning, the opportunity that we have when we do visioning to visualize what it is we want to create in our life, and actually take that mental image into and internalize it so that we can step into a future that we really want to experience. Affirmative prayer is something that Tina and I have used our whole life to deal with situations that come up in business, in dealing with our employees, dealing with contractual problems, dealing with life. And it provides us a wonderful opportunity. Each of us are prayer partners for each other, as one is separated from that's being centered. The other one is there to really help support us in getting back online. Practitioners are here to help support you in going through that kind of situation as our ministers. And they can be a wonderful tool in really taking difficult steps. As I said, Tina's my practitioner. She has been for 30 years. One of the things that we do for each other, again, is to make sure that we keep our mind and head clear. Meditation's a wonderful tool to allow ourselves to release that chatter that goes on in our mind. If we recognize truly that we are an expression of the divine and that we are supported in life, one of the wonderful things about life is if you can quiet your mind, you allow yourself to be open to guidance, to seeing life a little clearer. Service is another wonderful tool for stepping into an alternative reality. It's recognizing our connection with everybody around us. It's very easy to go through life feeling isolated, but the truth is we are all connected. Oftentimes it is through service that we allow ourselves to recognize that connection. Service here at the center is a wonderful thing. Service at NMSU, supporting education and children, are a wonderful tool for seeing that wonderful spark of life. There are many opportunities within our community to serve and to actually give back to life. That's which we all truly have been blessed with. Affirmations. Geneva is a magnificent custodian of affirmations and wonderful positive thoughts. She distributes them every day, and it's a wonderful way to start your day. But at the same time, affirmations are a wonderful opportunity to help us focus thought, to see what it is we want to create out into our future, and allow us to have these positive affirmations that kind of reinforce the ideas that we're trying to give positive thought to. Positive relationships are a wonderful recognition for each of us to have. As we see people that do wonderful things or kind things or supportive things for other people or for ourselves, it's wonderful to acknowledge that. It's allowing us to, number one, see our connection and acknowledge people that are doing very positive things, because that again helps us refocus our energies, because life is energy. And part of what it is that we're trying to do is direct our energy in a constructive and in a direction that will create the results that we want in our lives. Seeing the divine expression in each moment. I mean, each of us, I think Teresa said it beautifully in her talk, where she's talking about we are supported in each moment, and it doesn't necessarily look like we are. I know in Tina's and my life, we've had some terrible situations come down that we needed to deal with. That would have been very easy just to walk away from and say, to heck with this jazz. And in each case, when we sit and confront them, we find out our lives we're enriched by them. And it's just, it's very easy for us in each moment to sit and say, I am absolutely supported by life in this moment, and allow ourselves to reinterpret each moment in that positive way and give thanksgiving for each of these situations. Needless to say, in my life, loving relationships are an important part of my life. It's been allowed me to grow into a larger expression of myself than I probably would have in any other kind of environment. But I think each of us, as we are recognizing the relationships we're in, that is a wonderful opportunity for us truly to see those energies that connect us with everything around us, because we truly are one, and we truly are supported. And then workshops are a wonderful, and Tina and I have used workshops for our whole marriage as an opportunity to explore different ideas and different things that give us the opportunity to live life more richly. I think the tithing and donations to Tina and I have been a wonderful and a wonderful part of our financial reality. We live in an abundant universe, and the willingness to be part of that circulation of the financial energy is a wonderful way of opening yourself up to receive that financial energy expressing through you. The lack of willingness to give stops in many cases the energy of receiving. And this is all, again, life is energy. Life, whether it's financial, whether it's love, whether it's relationships, it's all energy. And as you give, so shall you receive. And the process of tithing or giving to organizations that you really appreciate is a wonderful opportunity and a wonderful reminder that we are in that energy. We are part of this process. We are part of a larger whole that is truly supporting our lives. We've talked about gratitude. Forgiveness is a wonderful thing to be reminded of. I think Teresa and Bonnie both talked about that, because having any kind of ill will tends to block energy. And as we forgive ourselves and those around us, we're opening ourselves up for a more joyful and a more dynamic expression of life. And of course, classwork. Classwork has been a magnificent part of our life. It's been a big part of our personal growth. It's allowed us to deal with a lot of situations that we otherwise would have had trouble dealing with without the classwork. I just encourage anybody that really is interested in personal growth to consider classwork at the center. To also consider, using the practitioners around here. And I'll remind you, as Teresa did, that Beyond Limits begins in March, and Teresa is a magnificent facilitator. And I will end with one of my favorite people, favorite authors is Deepak Chopra, and in his 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, he had a wonderful reminder that success is a journey, not a destination. If I could ask the practitioners to surround us, we'll have a closing treatment. So let's just take a moment just to be quiet and allow ourselves to open up to that experience of life that we are engaged in. Let us be grateful for the lessons of the past and embrace the realization that all of our experiences of the past are a source of our strength, which serve us now. Let us release any thought about the past which does not support and empower us in this moment. Let us recognize that pattern of perfection and seed of greatness which grows within us in this moment. Let us allow ourselves to be nurtured and express that growing awareness and watch life unfold perfectly, like a blossom in the mirror of our experience. Know that you are an expression of the power and beauty of the One as you evolve and awaken in the recognition of your connection with all around you. For all that you are and the opportunity of self-realization which exists in each moment, be grateful and let it be. And so it is.